Hi everybody, it's Dr. Ruff. Welcome to topic 2 of special populations. So if you have not already read it, the syllabus will kind of show how the first half of the course breaks down into voice and the second half into stuttering. So for the next few weeks or several weeks, we're going to be talking about voice, and then towards the end of the semester, we'll talk about stuttering. So now we're in chapter 3 and chapter 4 of your textbook. We just got through anatomy. Big tip, keep all of your anatomy information. This is not the last time you're going to see it. Not only are you going to need it for the praxis, but you also need it for 650 towards the end of your program, where we're preparing for the taxis and we're trying to have that final programmatic test, which is basically a praxis predictor. Regardless, you will see this anatomy again, so keep your notes and pay attention to what came easily and maybe you struggled with a little bit. Okay, so chapter 3, we're going to talk about anatomy and physiology of voice production. So chapter 3 lays the biological foundation for understanding voice by explaining how the vocal mechanism is structured and how it functions during phonation. So at the core is the larynx, which houses the vocal folds. The vocal folds are composed of layered tissue, the epithelium, lamina propria, and muscles. You probably saw this on your quiz, or at least in your quiz reviews. And their structure allows both vibration and flexibility. So efficient voice production depends on balance between these layers. Too much stiffness or mass can disrupt vibration. So mass, for example, if you have a polyp, a fluid-filled little one-sided kind of blister in your vocal cord, that's a mass. It's going to affect vibration. Nodules tend to be on both sides of your vocal cords and kind of the two-thirds portion, two-thirds where the bottom two-thirds, I think, where they meet. But either way, they're like these little calluses and they are going to affect vibration. It's a mass. It's going to affect how things flow, allow air escaping, etc. So voice production is typically explained through myoelastic aerodynamic theory. So I'm going to stop here. Anytime you hear theory in any class, especially this one, but also language, adult, aphasia, all this kind of good stuff, these are normally pretty complex topics. What I would advise, and this is what I did in my doctoral program, go to YouTube really quickly and say, show me myoelastic aerodynamic theory. Get a little overview. Then maybe find a quick summary either through like a Google or like an ASHA summary or even like an encyclopedia. Have a little quick, easy explanation. Then take it to your textbook. Then take it to your research articles where you'll start to develop that professional grade understanding of the topic. But I like to prime my brain when I'm introducing new kind of complex topics, okay? So maybe you want to do that with this one. Anyways, back to myoelastic aerodynamic theory. According to this model, airflow from the lungs builds subglottal pressure, subglottal meaning under the vocal cords, beneath the vocal folds. When pressure is sufficient, the folds are forced apart and then elastic recoil pulls them back together, and plus the Bernoulli effect, which brings them back together, creating a vibration. So this is how your vocal folds move. And if you look, I included a little YouTube video for you guys to review that gives like a little, a cool little tutorial on the Bernoulli effect that a singer provided for us. So the system is often described as having 3 subsystems. There's the respiratory system, okay, providing airflow and pressure. So you have your lungs and your diaphragm. And just so you know, this is a misnomer, so I'm just going to talk about it with you guys right now. Anytime you're talking about a diaphragmatic breath, your stomach should go out, filling up like a balloon. And then when you breathe out, it should go in. So there's a diaphragmatic muscle that lowers, allowing for more space to fill your lungs, right? So a lot of people think if they're taking a big breath, they're breathing up and they're filling their lungs and then they breathe out like that. No, that's not right. I mean, they might be tensing and making that happen, but if you're doing a real diaphragmatic breath, you are lowering your diaphragm, allowing for that full filling of your lungs. And that's really important because then you need all of that air support, that breath support to go into your phonatory system, producing that opening and that vibration. So this is where the vocal fold vibration happens in the larynx. And then it's going to go into your resonatory system, which shapes in your vocal tract, such as your pharynx, oral, and nasal cavities. And then the sound comes out. Okay, so neural control is also critical. The brain coordinates precise timing and muscle activation via the cranial nerves, especially the vagus nerves. The vagus nerve. I'm going to say that again. Especially the vagus nerve, which innervates the larynx. So 9 times out of 10, if we're talking about voice, we are talking about the vagus nerve. There are other nerves involved, but if you when in doubt and you're not sure, vagus nerve. Overall, chapter 3 emphasizes the voice, that the voice is a result of a coordinated dynamic interaction, not just isolated structures. So chapter 4, voice acoustics and aerodynamics. So chapter 4 shifts from structure to measurable properties of voice. How voice is analyzed in clinical and research settings. So for example, if we're doing a voice assessment at a voice clinic. So we might look at acoustics. Acoustics focuses on the sound signal itself. So key measures include fundamental frequency, and that's indicated by that FO symbol, which is also perceived as pitch. There's intensity, which is loudness or perceived as loudness. Perturbation measures such as jitter, which is frequency variation, and shimmer, which is amplitude variation. How loud are you? And then harmonics to noise ratio, which is HNR, reflects voice quality and periodicity. These measures help clinicians quantify voice disorders objectively. So this is really cool because if you go into a voice clinic, you will see a little computer station and a microphone on a stand, and you're going to speak into that. You're going to say things like, or talking, and it's going to measure things like, oh, you had a hard glottal stop. You have some air escaping because your voice is maybe a little swollen, or maybe there's something there. But either way, it's going to detect the sound and give a whole breakdown on all those areas that we just talked about. So aerodynamics. An aerodynamic assessment examines airflow and pressure during speech. So there's that subglottal pressure, the driving force for vocal fold vibration. Remember, we need that pressure to build up so that the vocal fold is open and get the wave. There's airflow rate, how much air passes through the glottis, and laryngeal resistance, the relationship between pressure and airflow. So there needs to be a good balance to get a good quality sound of pressure and airflow. So abnormal aerodynamic patterns can indicate inefficiency, such as an excessive airflow in a breathy voice, like if I'm talking like this and you hear all this air, an airy voice, right? There's too much air and it's making there be less volume, less tone produced. Or maybe you have increased resistance in hyperfunctional voice disorders. Hyperfunction meaning too much function, too tight. So I'm hyperfunction, my vocal cords are too tight and barely any sound is escaping because I'm keeping it too close and you're not getting that full open sound vibration occurrence happening. And then lastly, again, another theory, source filter theory. What do we do when we have a theory? Go take a look, go do some additional research so you understand it. Keep reading and looking until you understand it. Another key concept is source filter theory. The vocal folds act as the source, sound generation, while the vocal tract acts as a filter and shapes the sound into recognizable speech. This explains how the same vocal fold vibration can produce different speech sounds depending on vocal tract configuration. So overall, big takeaway, chapter 3 talks about how voice is produced biologically, and chapter 4 talks about how voice is measured and analyzed. And both chapters together connect structure, function, and measurable output, which is essential for clinical voice assessment and treatment planning. So that's a lot. Hope that's helpful. Reach out if you guys have any questions, and hope to see you soon. Thanks.